I wanted to talk a little bit about The Last of Us because I've watched the first couple of episodes, first 5 or 6 episodes at this point, and I'm pretty into it. I like it a lot. I think it's really well done. The story is great, but we all knew the story was good already because of the popularity of the video game and the following that it gained over the years of popularity. But I think that there's a scene in it, a sequence, that is being overlooked, I feel like, by a lot of the people, at least that I've been talking to about it, and that is the opening sequence to the second episode, in which the filmmakers are showing you the origin of this insane fungal disease, and it's pretty fascinating and it's really well done. And I kind of wanted to talk about it in relation to The Hot Zone because I love this book. It sent me down quite the spiral learning about filoviruses when I was 14, 15 when I first read it. And this book has some of the scariest chapters of a book that I've ever read, and I love scary stuff. The first 2 or 3 chapters are absolutely terrifying and enthralling and really well written and fascinating at the same time. You know, it's fascinating, you know, because when I read it, it was 2014. I was a freshman in high school, and that was when the first person in the United States with Ebola came to the United States. They were in Dallas, which was not far from me, and reading it with that context made it so much more of a thrill. And I think that this book and the Nat Geo show that they made out of it is not dissimilar from the opening of the second episode, which is called Infected. Essentially, they lay out that you're in Indonesia, they give you a protagonist, which is the university professor, and she doesn't know what's going on with her. You know, the military, of course, for any country is going to be super suspicious, like not really communicating with you. But they show her first a tissue, and then they bring her to an actual cadaver who's been infected with, you know, this insane fungal strain. And they tell her in full honesty, which is part of the like allure and like fear of the situation, because when is the army ever gonna tell you the truth unless they're scared shitless and they need something from you? They tell her the truth about what's going on, and they ask for her advice. They say, we need medicine, we need a vaccine. And she says, there is no medicine, there is no vaccine. And so, you know, the military guy asks her, like, okay, well then what do we do? And she says, bomb everything. You have to take everybody out. And like, there's no elaboration on that. And I love that there's no elaboration. We don't need any elaboration. Her fear is enough. It is wild. Especially because when the military personnel is telling her the timeline of this disease, he's telling her, oh, and in just a couple of hours, she was violent and, you know, attacking and biting people and spreading the disease. Something like Ebola stays in your system a week, a month before, you know, for some people it doesn't show symptoms until, you know, 14 days in. And something like this is like immediate. You have a couple of hours being yourself, and then you transform into something else. And that is also really scary. And I just kind of wanted to, you know, talk about it a little bit more because I think it was really well done. I felt like the suspense was awesome. The camera work was really, really perfect. I thought that it didn't become like a weird, because at the beginning of the episode, I will admit, upon first watch, that I was worried that there was going to be some connection to like Wuhan or something. Like I was like, oh great, an Asian country, I hope that they don't do some bullshit. But they didn't. It was really well done, and it wasn't inappropriate, and good point. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, Enzo had a good point. I hope you guys could hear him. It was just, my face was glued to the screen at that point. You know, I could not look away. And it was my favorite part of the show. It was kind of the selling point for me. Like I watched the first episode, I liked the first episode. I watched the beginning of the second episode, and I loved the beginning of the second episode, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna keep watching this. It was great placement as well. As I got further into the show, I thought I wouldn't have placed it anywhere else in the sequence, like amongst all of the other storytelling. I think it made a lot of sense because, you know, keeping it a mystery for a certain amount of time, you know, it's just like, I don't feel like it's, especially because we haven't seen something like this before. We've never actually seen a fungus cause different behavior in a person in the same way that this particular strain has. So kind of giving the audience an explanation and just how scary it is really adds to the danger of everything. Yeah, I mean, I think that's my favorite part so far. I've watched 6 episodes, and I really enjoy the show. But I also feel like I enjoy this genre of show. Like, I like The Mandalorian, and I like certain parts of Game of Thrones and things like that. So I do like the relationship of the 2 main characters, and I think Bella Ramsey was like a really great cast. I think I'd heard in the past that they were considering casting Maisie Williams, and I think that might have been a mistake, partially because she's aged out of the role at this point, and then also partially because I don't think she should be typecast anymore. You know, she's played sassy young girl before, and I think we should give her an opportunity to do something else. I'm looking forward to finishing the show, and I'll be interested to know whether this will still be my favorite. But I just really, really love the connection I was able to make between the Hot Zone and the beginning of this episode. I reread the Hot Zone at least twice a year just because of the beginning. It is so good. It is some of my favorite horror writing. I mean, like, when I bought this copy of the book, it says on the back, the first chapter of the Hot Zone is one of the most horrifying things I've ever read in my entire life, and then it gets worse. That's what I keep marveling over. It keeps getting worse. What a remarkable piece of work. I devoured it in 2 or 3 sittings and have a feeling the memories will linger a long time. Stephen King. So, you know, high praise. I was slightly worried that COVID would be too similar, you know. Having something like this come out after COVID it's a risk for certain. But I think the filmmaking and the storytelling of everything made up for that, even though it could have been a horrible mistake.